Hi, welcome to another video tutorial. Today we're looking at the ASIT 9626 November 2018, and we're looking at the database aspect of that particular paper, and we're just going to do the normalization aspect. Later we'll take the report part, and we'll learn how to do report in general, and then we'll solve every other past question that is concerned as far as reports forms are concerned. All right, so let's kickstart. Now, I mentioned earlier in my other videos that to normalize, we can actually do that under 5 minutes. All right, there are a few things that I want us to revise as far as this rule is concerned. So the first one we need to do is to achieve 1NF. Then you identify functional dependency. Okay, so if you're able to identify functional dependency, then it means that you decompose a table into new tables, and then you establish relationship between the tables. Right now, if however you are not able to identify any functional dependency between the tables, then it means that the table is normalized. All right, okay, let's refresh our mind as far as 1NF is concerned. So first of all, database 1NF has no repeating fields, and then again all fields are atomic, and then each record in the database is unique. That means they have a primary key. Now, I want us to touch on primary keys briefly before we move on to second NF. Right. So when we talk about primary key, a composition of other fields, 2 or 3 fields put together, are also referred to as primary keys. But just that we give it a new name, referred to as composite keys or compound keys. Now, in certain special cases or in certain systems like scheduling systems, logging systems, or logging events, financial transactions, sensor data collection, and airport management system, there's a need to use composite keys somehow when you need to make some tables when you want to create a primary key. And to do that, it is advisable to use date and time fields in combination with other fields to form that composite key. Now, a good example is what we have here as the airport management system. So flight number, departure date, and time will be used in this particular example as our primary key or the composite key. Financial transaction, in this case, we're going to use account number, transaction number, and the timestamp. So in this case, if the account number is that and the transaction number follows with the next number and then the date follows, then they are going to put all the 3 together to form the composite key for that particular database. Now we look at second NF. Right, so for second NF, first of all, the table must be in 1NF, and that you need to remove all partial dependency. And for third NF, you have to make sure that the table is in second NF, and then you eliminate what is referred to as transitive dependency. Okay, now field names are also very important as far as database is concerned. So when creating field names, you have to make sure that the field names are short, meaningful, and consistent. Now, to do that, you can use abbreviations wisely. So for example, if you have customer address, you can use cast add. All right, and then again, you need to avoid spaces and special characters like I've shown below. And then we can also make use of some naming conventions such as the camel case, the snake case, and the Pascal case. So for the camel case, what happens is that the first word within 2 words is made small and the second word is capitalized, and then the words are put together with no space or underscore. In the snake case, you have the first word, everything in lowercase, but the 2 words are separated with an underscore. And then the final one, which is the Pascal, you have both the first word and the second word in capital letters, and then they do not have any separations between them. So these are basically the things we're going to look at as far as normalization is concerned. Okay, so let's go straight to the question paper we have. 2018 November, we're going to look at the database aspect and see whether we'll be able to normalize under 5 minutes. Wow. All right. So we, first of all, the time is clicking now. So first of all, let's look at this here. We need to examine this field here. We need to give it a meaningful, short, right? Meaningful and consistent style. And then it mentioned here that there shouldn't be any spacing here. So we can use the any of the suggested field names we saw earlier in the notes. And then here it says that create a relational database normalized to the third NF. So what we want to do is that we want to see if we are able to normalize this within 5 minutes. Okay, so let's open the tables and examine them. Right, so these are the 4 tables we have. We want to see what is in here. All right, so 4 tables are open right here. So the first table here doesn't have a field name, so we need to insert a field name. But first of all, we need to find out what the field name will be. All right, so first of all, what we're looking out for is one, to be sure that we have 1 NF. So you need to look through the table to see if there's 1 NF. If the table is in 1 NF, then you move on to the next stage to identify functional dependency. So looking at this here, we want to check if this table is unique and that can be used as a primary key. So I'll go to this and go to duplicate, highlight, and this here doesn't have any repetitions. So it means that this is a primary key. The next thing to do is to identify functional dependency. And so in identify functional dependency, I'm going to check these 2 fields here to see if they are related in any way. And if I do that, I notice that these 2 here are related to each other, right? This here are the same and they are giving me the same output here. So to do that, I'm just going to highlight this again and then go to conditional formatting, highlight, and then go to duplicate value. And to double check this, I'll go to data and I'm going to sort this field here, right? So filter this field here. And once I filter this field, I'm going to arrange the first one in A to Z. And so when I do that and I go through this field, I notice that this here is giving basically the same thing for all the items here. So that tells me that this here is functionally dependent on that. So once this is functionally dependent on that, I'm going to copy this table here and bring it to another table. So I copy this, open a new table and paste it right there. Once you do that, you remove duplicates. Okay, so I'm going to remove duplicates in this field here by going to data again and remove duplicates, and that is it. All right, so once you have removed this duplicate, it means that this here is 7 as the primary key in the table we got that from, and we need to delete the airport name. So we come right here to this here, that's where we got it from. I'm going to delete the airport name and move on to the next table, which is right here. So cabin crew, we want to find out whether this cabin crew table is normalized. So first of all, this appears to be a primary key. So we check if it indeed that is a primary key, if it has no duplicate. So this here has no duplicate. And so obviously this is in first NF. So since this is in first NF, it means this is uniquely fetching other records here, right? But this 2 here has some repetitions. So if we check through this here, it has some repetitions. So we want to see if this is functionally dependent on that. And so we again will highlight this 2 and then we do conditional formatting and then check duplicate. And obviously it shows that there are some duplicates. But again, we want to check if indeed these values that are duplicates are functionally dependent on the other. So I'll do again filter A to Z just to rearrange the numbers. So again, I see AC1 0, AC1 0, and I see AC1 -1. Obviously, this is not functionally dependent because AC1 is giving me 2 different values. So it means that this table here is normalized. So we are done with this table. and we moved on to the last table and checking this final table here. If we check this field here to see if they are duplicates, we go through that, and of course they are duplicates, so it means that this is not a primary key. And since this is not a primary key, to establish one NF we need to find a primary key. And as we saw in the video, we noticed that in this an airport system, so obviously I'm going to use the flight number, departure number, flight number, the departure date and departure time as my primary key. So this here is going to be a composite key, and since this is a composite key, we want to see if these two here are functionally dependent on each other. And so to do that, I can just check this first to this dates here are the same, but the outputs here are different. So obviously this is not functionally dependent on the other. And since the values in this field is not functionally dependent on the other, it means that this table is also normalized. So basically we are done with the normalization. The rest is just to rename the field names and import them into database. So that is all I'm going to do now. So I'm going to rename this here to flight num, right? And then I'll do this here as departure date. So in this case here, I'm using capital case for both the first and the last letter. And then departure here, I'll do departure time. So it said at, so that is time. And then the same happens for this one here, arrival. So all right, so we're going to do arrival date here, and then right there is arrival time. And then that's a crew, so that is fine. Okay, so this okay. Departure time, we can make it a bit shorter by saying depart time, and then we can make again this bit shorter to say depart time and date, and then arrival can also be shortened a bit. We can leave it as such. Okay, so this here, it's okay as far as the field names are concerned. So I'm going to save this table as flight. So save as I can save this as a CSV file. So I'll just leave it as a CSV file and save this as flight. So once I've saved this table, I'll close it. This here is payroll number. So the payroll with no spacing and num. All right, and then we move on to the next one. Full name, make this capital. Surname, make name capital. And then I'll save this as crew code and long serve. I'll remove that. All right, and this here should be capital for consistency, and then again this is going to be capital for consistency. All right, so this again has been named, so this is going to be cabin crew. Again, this will be saved as a CSV file right there. And so once this is done, I'll close this. Then I move on to this here. So again, this will be flight number num, and this will be arrival airport code. So I'll just do arrival code right there. So again, this is done. I'll save this as airports right there. All right, so close this, then move to this here. So this here has airport arrival code. So again, this here will be airports So this again will be arrival code, just like the first one. And this here will have name as capital. So that's the airport's name. So airport name. So this here, we can name this as airports. Right. Airport. So I go in here, file, and I'm saving this as a CSV file. So Excel file. So I'll save it as a C, comma separated, and right there. So this here is saved as airports. All right. And then close this. And then finally, this here will become the crew code right there. And so this will be saved as a crew code or just as code. All right. So I'll save this here as code since it's different from that one. And this is CSV file. And then click on save. All right. So we are done with this particular field name. So the next thing to do is to just bring them to database, and we will create the relationships as such. All right. So here we go into the blank space. This particular database was given a name, so it's called Thawara, followed by my center number and candidate number. So I'm going to do just that here. All right, so this is supposed to be that, followed by my center number GH073, and then let's say underscore 011. That's it, and then click on create. Okay, close this table, and then I'm going to bring in the 5 tables and just create relationships, right? So from file, we go to text file, and then we bring in the source files. Okay, so the first one is this. Okay, so we go to first name, content field names, no duplicates, and go to next. So these are short, that's fine. So we choose the primary key as arrival, and so the primary key here is arrival code, and that is it. Then we go to the next one, which is airports. First row contains field names. This is short test as well. So we go to next and then choose primary key. So that's the first primary key, and finish. Then we'll go to the next one. Code. Okay. First row contain field names, and next the short test. That's the primary key, and finish. Then we go to the next one. We have in here cabin crew, first row contain field names, so that is it. Okay, and primary key is that. So we finish, and then we take the last one here, which is the flight. All right, so flight, we click on next, first row content field names, and then here we there are some duplicate values there, so we leave that. So we choose no primary key and then click on finish. Okay, so in this table here, I'm going to go to the design view of the table and then select the 3 fields here. So I'll just highlight the 3 fields and click on the primary key. So that is it. So this 3 here becomes the primary key for this table. All right. So once I have this, save it, and then so next we bring in tables and then try to establish the relationships between them. So here, if we look at the tables carefully, so cabin crew will go with this here. So we take a screenshot of this, and then again we have the crew code here going with crew here, and then we have the flight number going with flight number right there, and then finally we have the airport code with going to arrival code to arrival code, and that is it for this particular question. So we've done the first part of the question, which is just to create a relational database for this particular video. So that brings us to the end of this particular video as far as normalization is concerned. So we'll look at some other tutorials on how to do reports. So let's try to subscribe to the channel just to encourage for more videos. All right, so till we meet again, we'll take other past questions that has questions on normalization, and then we'll normalize them again using the same approach, and so we can all learn. All right, so till we meet again, bye bye.